undeniable that this pandemic, it is impacting businesses all over the globe, regardless if you're a big business, small business owner, medium, mid-sized company. This pandemic is impacting your business. Now, the biggest question I think a lot of us have as business owners, or if you're even a supervisor, manager, director, or what have you, the question right now is, how do we rebuild our business in a way that will sustain, scale, and flourish during this period of time and onwards, right? So what's the best way what do we need to do to reimagine our business, right? That's the big question. And we're going to get into all of that in today's talk. Now, before we get into what are some ways that we could cope and adapt to this pandemic, let's talk about the reality of what's going on right now, right? Like, what is happening with businesses today? What's going on with all of these unemployment popping up everywhere, left and right? We're seeing that in the last few months. Many established companies like Airbnb, Yelp, Eventbrite, and even mid-sized company to smaller sized businesses like your local salon, your local restaurants, all of that are impacted. And a lot of it already have started their layoff process, right? We're hearing a lot of people are getting laid off. When I go log on to my LinkedIn account, I see many of my colleagues, friends of friends, people on there that are expressing how they're impacting during this time and they're looking for other roles. And I'm very surprised in the sense of how many of these businesses are so soon to quit during this pandemic. And here's what I mean, right? And first, I want to acknowledge that I do get it, right? Like, especially for companies like Yelp, Airbnb, Eventbrite, you know that a lot of their business model is completely and directly related to this, the areas that are impacted during this pandemic, right? Concerts, large gatherings, events, obviously that is impacted. I get it. Airbnb, people don't want to rent out their place to strangers. And on the flip side, people are not traveling. The needs of having to rent a place to stay for a couple days or weekends or weeks are not there as before, right? The demand for that, it's not there. For Yelp, restaurants are closed. Many places are closed. Therefore, people perhaps are not going to Yelp and engage and find things as frequently as before. So I get it from that sense, right? Like, from that perspective, you could understand why, like, it's gonna be a large hit to their revenue, to their business, to the way they monetize. And so I'm not saying I don't get why they have to result in layoff. Like, there's a huge logical sense of that. Of course, on top, I don't deny that I'm sure their investors, right, are also going to care a lot about how am I going to have the least amount of loss this year or the coming years because of what's happening with the pandemic, right? So from that perspective, I get it. They made the choices they did with, I'm sure, a lot of valid reasons. But one thing that I do want to ask is, because they have the power, they have the resource, and the large majority of these people are super incredibly smart and innovative and are able to think outside of the box. So my question is, have they spent enough time and resource in that department of rethinking, reimagining their business in ways that actually will fit and be able to help people during this pandemic? And to be honest, I think because we are all, every one of us, business, no business, employees, employers, all of us are in this together. This is all new to us, right? Like, us having to work from home every single day now, if you're able, right? That's new. That's something that we haven't experienced before. Everything is new around us. So I actually believe it's the best time to innovate, to reimagine your business, how to adapt better in this pandemic where you could actually win on the other side, right? So all of these businesses that are laying off people right now, letting go, closing their doors, shutting everything down, I question if they have spent enough time thinking, trying, and maybe they resulted in fail. I just don't believe that, just because of the short amount of time that they have already decided to almost give up, right? Like, it's been about 2-3 months in that we're all in this stay-at-home pandemic, and people are already making that decisions to lay off 20-25% or even more of their employees. So that tells me that in a way they're almost giving up a part of them, right? And so that's the part that I'm trying to use this talk to help stop you before you quit too soon. Let's reimagine how you could build your business, not only to survive this pandemic, but to scale and actually adapt to the future of technology, right? At the end of the day, let's think about this. We're in 2020. The use of technology will only become more and more and more frequent and prominent in the future. So when you're thinking about investing in what you need now to adapt to this pandemic, don't think about it as if you're wasting resources, you're wasting your time, you're wasting money. Don't think of it as if this is almost like a band-aid that you're putting in to then later have to just toss away, remove it, and then go back to your normal life. Like, we've been always talking about this idea of new normal. Like, what is this new normal? How is life even going to be when we finally find all the vaccine that we need to, move forward with this pandemic? Things are going to be different. Things are changing, right? Is work from home going to be more normal? Maybe. Very possible, right? Are people going to get used to a certain way of life that it's more, in a sense, like convenient, home suitable, right? Like, people could just stay at home and get everything that they need. Things are kind of at their fingertip. When you think about it, our society have already been merging that way, right? There's a lot of things, technology, tools that we've been making that it's meant for convenience. Things that people don't have to go out and interact with people and do what they normally have done traditionally. So don't think of this investment of adapting to this pandemic a waste or a bandage or something that you won't need later on. Because trust me, whatever that you're able to do to make this time successful, you're gonna keep at it, you're gonna keep expanding, you're gonna keep innovating, and that is gonna keep going with this new normal. So don't think of this you even putting the time to rebuild and reimagine your business as a waste or it's a temporary thing, because it's not. All right, so now that we get that out of the way of like why you should really invest and use the time to reimagine your business, I want to share some of the technology that could help you scale and adapt for the future, because technology really is going to be your best friend. If you're already a company, let's say you're a local restaurant, small business that are not as tech savvy as some of the other companies that who their foundation is built based on technology, then I could help give you some tips to think through, like, what are some things and steps you could do to start. And if you're already a pretty decent sized company and you are familiar with technologies, then it's about just pivoting, right? Like, what are some of the areas that then you need to look at? And again, like, at the end of the day, before you think about what to do next, first start with your customers. What I mean by that is think about their needs, how their needs has changed, how their life has changed. What are some things that will really be helpful to them? Understand what would they want now in this environment, right? That should be the basis of everything that you're trying to do. Like, how can you help your customer flourish live better, live conveniently, and be just super happy, right, during this time. And if you have the solution to that, and a lot of that solution, I'm sure, is going to be a huge component of leveraging technologies, right? Being able to reach your customer in an effective way now that we won't see them in person. You can't be just, you telling Susan and Susan tell them face to face of how great this is. You got to be more creative, right? So it's going to be a lot of that. Okay, so I will start with smaller businesses because I think they are having a bigger hit in this pandemic in terms of impact and how everything is, impacting their business. And I could understand that, for like a normal small shop, typically it's normal, I would say, from what I see, right? Majority of these small businesses, they don't always incorporate a technology side of things to their business. Usually it's, let's say, a restaurant, their food is amazing. Their customer service is amazing. Whenever you go there, you love the place, you love the staff, you love everything about it. It's the to-go place for you, right? You will always go there. However, because now this is happening, they might not, really understand, well, what's the best way to pivot other than to go, right? Like making my food to go, delivery friendly, and what have you. And I think there's a lot more that these businesses could do to win, right? And I'll give you one example for restaurant specific that I think it's very creative and very innovative. So, as we know, in Asia, right, this pandemic have been hitting them for longer and, harder in the beginning, right? So they also were forced to adapt to what's going on. And I remember I was watching a video and I saw that there's this very, famous restaurant. Their specialty is selling hot pot. And for those of you who's not familiar with what is hot pot, is a pretty messy dining experience, I would say. Well, if you're dining in, it's not messy, but to dine out, it will be. But what it is basically you order a bunch of raw meat, raw food at the restaurant typically, and there will be a pot of broth of sort that then you could cook your meat and vegetables in real time at the restaurant. So they give you all the sauces that you want. They come pour the broth whenever it goes low, and they keep bringing you fresh meat as you order them, right? So you can imagine that experience. Typically, it's just really suitable for in person. You going to the restaurant, so it's less messy, more convenient. You could, bet that the meat are fresh. The soup are not gonna fly all over you. All of that. Basically, it's a in-person type of experience. So that, think of hot pot as the type of food that's really just meant for people who go there to experience. Now you can imagine now that if everybody's at home, nobody could open the restaurant, you must think, oh God, that business is doomed, right? Especially because they sell hot pot of all things. They went above and beyond to be not only creative, but compliance to the healthy measure that's really needed during this time, which is what a lot of people care about, right? I must say, even for myself, during this pandemic, I stopped myself from buying a lot of to-go restaurants, not because I don't want to support my, restaurants and people. I have tons of cravings. My biggest concern is the safety and health and cleanliness of these restaurants. So that's top of my mind. If they could prove to me that their employees is doing their part and that everything is that much cleaner and that I could be trusted that my food is not going to be contaminated, I will say I will buy more food from restaurants and bring it to go. So anyway, this restaurant, hot pot restaurant in Asia, I saw a video where they show you the process of how their new way of delivering their hot pot to you. So first, they have a way of almost like live streaming the workers, so you almost like have a way to see like how are they preparing your food if you want to. It's not obviously required, and everybody's wearing masks. Like right away you see that everybody's wearing gloves, and they pretty much have listed out, like there's like a page of instruction of them that said these are the procedures that our employees go through every 30 minutes. They remove their current gloves, they put on new fresh gloves. Same with their masks. Every time they come in, they will do a temperature check, and you could see it in the video as well. And so they come in, they have a temperature check. They said while they're preparing your food, right? So they're basically really just placing like the meats and the, whatever type of food that you order into the boxes. You could see that that process, and while they're doing that, sometimes they do another temperature check. And the cool thing about it is in the video it also shows whoever that was on staff that day, that hour, that moment when your food is prepared, your receipt is gonna show all of their names and their temperature at the time when they're prepping your food, right? And this is not all. So while they package your food, everything is about to be ready, they deliver it to you, they check their temperature again before they deliver it to you. And not only that, before you are like even ready to pick up your order, they give you a clean bag with a glove for you then to take the new glove to then hold with your new bag. They even sanitize the bag before they give it to you. You could say this is an extreme process, but for someone that is a germaphobe like I am, where I am concerned about germs even before this pandemic, and now I'm even more paranoid with just the sanitary of my food, that's heaven to me. Just seeing the amount of effort and discipline and transparency that they are putting in preparing your food to make you feel safe so you could build that trust with them, that is phenomenal. That is creative. That is adapting to this pandemic in ways that it's exactly what we need right now during this time, right? They're thinking about what is the biggest concern of our customers, how can we then make their concern goes away and make them trust us through this process, right? So that's an excellent example of how one way you could adapt to this pandemic, right? To build your trust with your customer and make them feel good, make them feel safe. There are other ways too that definitely involves technology, right? So let's say you are a business that's not that well known, right? Like you're thinking about, well, I could be doing all of that. Like let's say I do, reallocate some of my efforts and budget into then making sure that things are more clean and everything. How will people even know about it? Like, is it just a one-pager on my website that no one ever used? Or, small businesses, they have very old websites sometimes that they don't even manage themselves, right? So this is going to be a good time where it's going to require some learning and building relationships on how with people that could help you in those areas, right? The good news is every industry, every topic that you want to learn, it's very likely that it's available on the internet for you to learn. Are you going to take that time to find it and learn it? Now that's up to you, right? So I'll give you more examples, right? So if let's say publicity, promotion, letting people make aware that your business is transforming and that you have this new guideline on your restaurant and it's completely safe, it's completely cool, it's completely convenient, but you're thinking like, well, I don't know how to make people be aware of that if I'm gonna spend all that time and money on making that happen. Well, another good news, right? Just like how you found this audio or video, it's also the same way other people will find you. You have a cell phone. All of us have a smartphone nowadays that you could just simply record videos and what have you. Use that. I know it's gonna be, not professional sometimes or scrappy, but that's okay. You could mimic something similar, even if it means it's coming from your phone. Your hand is holding the phone and just recording it. If anything, if you're a small business, sometimes that even add a touch of authenticity, right? I can't even say the word right now. Authenticity, right? So you could totally do that. And I advise you to do that, and then learn to then how to post it on YouTube, how to post it on social media. If you're not already using social media, learn how to just open a very simple account. It's very, very simple. It probably will take you less than 30 minutes to, sign up for an Instagram account or a YouTube account. All you need, it's like an email, a phone number, and you could get going. You could post your stuff. And if you want to learn more about how to then use these social media or different platforms and outlets to make your brand more known, I could have a dedicated topic on that next time. But just know these tools are out there and it's available for you to spread the words on your business. And the thing is, it's very possible and likely sometimes that these moms and pops, handmade, homemade video could go viral, right? So what I'm trying to say is try to be creative, try new things, try new areas before you give up. There's many, many things that you could try and reallocate your, old investment in, right? Like, let's say before you spent a lot of money and time in maintaining, having the space and renovating walls at your restaurants and making sure that, the employees, the 20, 30 staff that you have are all, on time, and now you have to let all of them go. Like, you think about the expense that you're also not expending because of this pandemic and reallocating that to the new creativity, to the new technology that you could leverage for people to know about this reimagined, this rebuilt business of yours and then flourish. You definitely can. And if you are a mid-size or even like a pretty established company, you have the power, you have the resource, you have a large amount of smart, innovative people that could help get you there. I highly don't recommend any decent sized technology company to just give up just because their way of monetization, the way of their revenue is now hitting a plateau because people can't do what they normally do. The thing is, for people who can't do what they normally do, they will find new ways of doing things that will work for them. If you're Yelp and you used to help restaurants to be known, to get reviews, and people go there for that purpose, you already have an audience. You have an audience that want to look up things because Yelp was helpful to them in finding these informations. And you could maybe translate that to something else. We still need information, right? You could even think about how now groceries, right? Groceries is like one of the very few places that are still open right now. We want to know like which groceries have less people, right? Which grocery stores have a line right now? When can I go that is maybe less people? Can I even make a reservation for a time slot so then by the time I go to Trader Joe's, I don't have to wait like an hour or 30 minutes or even 15 minutes, right? Yelp was super good at that from a restaurant perspective, right? From businesses perspective, when they open, their phone number, so much about them. You even help put devices in their restaurants, in their business, so people could sign in, so people know the wait time in real time, right? They could take advantage of what they have already established, the resource, the bright people that they have to pivot. We got to pivot. And it's not the end of the world just because the stuff that we're familiar with, what we know, is different. We could do so much better than that. The fact that they are established, not even there's like even small business owners, the fact that you own a business, and I don't care if it's not Yelp, if it's not a technology company, even if you own a bookstore, if you own a coffee shop, if you own a small tiny restaurant, if you own a liquor store, you are smart, you are an owner of a business, and you are powerful. There's so much that you have already established in your life that a normal person is not able to do. What this means is you are creative, you are determined, and you could do so much. So don't quit too soon, because you can't pivot, you can't adapt to this change that's happening right now. And whatever that you decide to do during this change to adapt based on what your customer needs is not temporary. You will able to scale this in the long run, because the new normal needs you. They need your ideas. They need you to adapt to this normal and help it keep going and create this new world together. And one thing, like, to be honest, I don't understand is that the government right now, yeah, it's great that they are giving, some sort of money to help businesses, small businesses, individuals, to adapt to this period of time. But you know what they really need to do? They need to do more than just dump a little bit amount of money here and there and think that everything is solved, because it's not, right? Like, if you're a small businesses, sure, it's great to have some money than no money, no help at all. But dumping that money to a business who then is also stuck at how to best leverage it, other than just to pay the bills that they need to pay, it's not very helpful, right? Like, what I would love to see is help from technology companies, is help from people that that know how to give the guidance and advice to these different businesses to then adapt even better to this pandemic. Like, use that money that's given to you, or that you hopefully you have some on your hand, that you could then invest in how this new business could be, is golden, right? Like, having money right now is not the answer. Just because you give $10,000 to a super small local restaurant, yeah, it's better than nothing, that's for sure. Sure, 10,000, that's still substantial amount of money, but giving them money without the knowledge and support that they need to rebuild their business to then adapt to this pandemic, it's not very helpful at all. And I would look to all of you business owners, regardless how big you are, how small you are, to own that piece of the knowledge and what you need to reinvent, right? Money is one thing. Having money but without what to do with it is only going to go so far. 2 months later, you're going to need more money, right? In order for you to grow, to persevere and go beyond what this pandemic have thrown at you, you have to go back to your root, which is how you started your business in the first place. Because you're smart, because you are innovative. You don't take no as an answer. You kept going, right? You had a great idea, you made it happen. You got to go back to that. Use that again. Think differently this time. Think outside of the box, right? Things are different now. It's going to require a little bit of thinking different in your innovation. Put yourself in your customer's shoes. What did they need? How can your service, your business make their lives better? Now, how can you do that with the most minimal amount of cost that you need to make that happen? If you don't know certain technology, you don't know how to use social media, make people know about this cool new things that you're doing, Google it. Learn more about it, right? It is completely possible, and I could tell you that. And it's a lot less difficult than you might imagine it to be. The example that I gave you earlier about the business owner in Hot Pot, what they're doing, it does add more time to the process, and it does probably add another layer of expense. Like, how do they get so many gloves, right? How do they get so many gears to change every 30 minutes? How are they, broadcasting that process? How are they sanitizing those? Like, yeah, that's some expense there, and it is, but you got to think about the loss and your gain. What you're losing right now is your entire business, right? You're losing all your staff, you're losing all of your income. So during this period, if you could invest a little bit for now, right? Take that drop and maybe take your losses and convert that and invest it in, areas that you can right now. Like you used to have to pay a lot more of your staff. You used to have to pay a lot more of, electricity, things, and to make things running. Maybe now that cost is also lower because of the circumstance. We allocate that investment to then make this new thing happen. And you could make it happen, right? So I will leave it there. Next time, I will talk more specifically on how to leverage a certain technology and social media to make people aware of your brand, find you, get to know your new business model, how you're helping other people, and strategic ways to think about new ways to adapt to this pandemic. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.